Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. And today I have some books about mothers. Now, Mother's Day can be a difficult time for a lot of people, especially people who've lost their moms, people who have not been able to give birth to children, if they've lost children. So I understand that this can be a very sensitive topic, and I am going to hope that if this is, you probably did not click on this video to watch, but those of you who did are here for a reason, and I'm happy to share with you some of my favorite books about mothers, as well as a couple that I haven't read yet that I'd like to get to. So let's get started. So the first one is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This was a surprise hit for me, and it really was circling the world as one of the favorites of the year that it was published, which I think was 2 years ago. But this one is so beautifully done. It is set in the 60s, I think, and Elizabeth Zott is a chemist, and she is an interesting human, and she meets somebody who's also a chemist, and they form a relationship. And later on, she has a child of her own. In fact, you start out in the first chapter realizing that she has a child, a bit of a surprise child, but they also have a dog whose name is 630. And I just love that this book also addresses caring for not only a child but a dog. So some of us are dog moms as well, and I think that's also wonderful, and cat moms. But I really loved this book. It was the book of the year for a number of prizes. I really recommend this if you haven't read it, and I really think that I'm going to reread it for sure sometime, maybe not this year. Another one I remember loving, but it's a challenging one. This is The Many Daughters of a Fong by Jamie Ford. I got this one in the Once Upon a Book Club. They send out boxes, and so it had some other things that came with it, which were lovely to open as you got to those pages. But this one follows all of the descendants of a Fong, not in order, so it is a bit sometimes hard to continue to keep up with. I both listened and read this, and I really recommend reading it because I think that was easier for me, but it really showcases the generations of women that have come from this original mom of Fong Moy, and it has such a message to it. I mean, I cried, sobbed, cried when this was over. So the one we begin with is Dorothy Moy, and she's a poet laureate. She's living in the future timeline, and she's struggling with her daughter's memories that she has that she shouldn't necessarily have because she's only, I think, 5. And she's also struggling with her relationship and just the times that they're living in. And there's some risk involved in opportunities that are not there anymore for them. I really loved this. I think it's not for everybody, but it's a little bit dark, and it also has some interesting concepts for you to think about. And it has stayed with me all this time. All this time. Another one that has stayed with me, and I've talked about more than once, is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. This is about, I think her name is Dorothy. Is it Dorothy? No, Eleanor. Eleanor Bennett dies, and the inheritance she leaves for her children is a black cake, which is the tradition in their culture, but also she leaves her story. And it is a very complex story that neither of them had much idea about at all. And it was beautifully written. It was gorgeous, really. And I loved learning about this character, and I loved watching her children sort of respond to this and to recognize the life that her mother led and how challenging it was. So while they're piecing together their mother's history, Byron and Benny, the children, are also coming to terms with their own relationship and what legacy they want to leave. One of my favorite authors, Meg Waite Clayton, wrote The Wednesday Sisters a long time ago. This was my first and the one that really made me a Meg Waite Clayton fan. In fact, I'm buddy reading one of hers now. This is about, I have to look, this is also set in the 60s, which I appreciate. That's a decade I love, probably because I was born in that decade. Frankie, Linda, Kath, Brett, and Allie. They're in California, and I think they all have children, and they meet up at a park, and they become fast friends, and their children become friends as well. So they play together, and they have these times where they connect on Wednesdays. And it also showcases, for me, this was what made it really special. It showcases the space exploration that happened in the 60s. There's just a lot of reference to things that I remember growing up as a child, and I was very young. Maybe gets a little bit of a perspective for me around what my mom and her friends might have been going through. It's lovely, and you learn about each one of them, and you learn about their children, but you also learn about what it was like to be a woman in the 1960s. And I think that that is also just a lovely thing for you to read. It's fun. If you haven't read it before, I really recommend it. And again, this one is an older book. This was first published, because I read this a long time ago. This was first published in 2008. And then if you really like this one, there's a sequel to it called The Wednesday Daughters. So yeah, that's also a good one for you to think about. This one is about a bunch of women. Only one of them is a mom, at least as far as we know and I remember. But The Brier Club by Kate Quinn was one of my favorites recently to have read. This is historical fiction. This is also set around the 60s, I think. I can't really remember, in the McCarthy era. So 50s. Definitely 50s. But there is a character in this book, one of the women that lived at the Brier Club. Her name is Fliss, and she has a young child, and her husband is away, serving in a different place, in a different country. And what I love about this is it really explores her challenges with motherhood. It's very realistic, especially mothers who do not have support, whether they're married or not married. Single moms really require a lot of patience, stamina, support. It's really very, very tricky. And I can say this because I was a single mom for much of my marriage, because my ex-husband was military as well. So Fliss really struggles throughout this book. And also the rest of these women that are in this book surround her with support, caring. They really help her with baby Angela. And it's just a lovely relationship that they all have in this same apartment complex. And I absolutely will never forget the struggles and the things that Fliss really was worried about and sad about and struggling with, and how much they supported her. So that's why I included this one. There's just one mom in there, but she's quite something. And then Fierce Kingdom by Jen Phillips. I don't think people talk about this one enough because it's so good. I read this one a long, long time ago as well. This came out in 2017. But this is about a mom who takes her son to the zoo. This is a dark thriller. And when they get to the zoo and they're having a lovely time and they're about to leave, something happens and they're in danger and they have to hide within the zoo. It is so propulsive. I remember reading it really, really quickly. I feel like Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library recommended this, but I'm not certain. But goodness sakes, this is a gem, a hidden gem. So if you haven't read this book, I really encourage you, if you can handle the suspense and the thrills and the difficulty. So now let's talk about the books that I'd like to read that I haven't gotten to that have mothers in them. I've had this one for quite a while. This is The Perfect Mother by Amy Malloy. I remember someone on YouTube recommending this to me too, and I don't think she's still on YouTube anymore. In fact, I'm certain of it. This came out in 2018, and this is the May mothers, who are all new moms. This is a perfect May read, which I may try to pop it in now that I remember that. And they've all had children at the same time in the month of May, and they're at Prospect Park in Brooklyn for some time together. And they go out for drinks, and they're really trying to have a good time, and then something awful happens to one of the babies. Winnie is a single mom, and her child is taken from the crib. 13 Days, an unexpected twist, a true page turner, it says. And again, this one's a little thrillery and spooky, but I also love the way they did this cover. That is quite stunning. But I've had this for so long. I would really like to finish it. And then this is a newer one that I acquired recently, Blackwoods Blue Sky by Ewan Ivy. This one is about a woman whose name is Birdie, and she's struggling as well. She's in Alaska, single mom, trying to raise her daughter Emmeline and also wait tables and make ends meet. And Arthur comes in to support her too, and they live in the Blackwoods and they're isolated there. And it seems like a really good kind of thrillery, but also I think hers are a little bit speculative, possibly. It says it's mythical. I've not read the other one that I have. I could also read that for this prompt. It's Snow Child, but I really do think this one's going to be good. And there's a bear there, and the child is over here, and it's really scary. So it might be scary as well as mystical. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought of them. If any of these are sparking your interest and you want to add them to your TBR, let me know that too. Also, if you have books about mothers that you've really enjoyed, or books about children that you've really enjoyed, please put that in the comments below, because that would be fun for us to all see. I'm sure there's lots of books about moms that I haven't even thought of at this point. Love to hear that. And if you just want to let me know that you were here in the comments, but you have nothing that you really want to say about these books or about mothers in general, just leave flowers in the comments, because flowers are a very prevalent Mother's Day gift. So everybody loves flowers, I think. So thanks again for watching. Thanks again for subscribing. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and click the like button if you liked this video. And as always, happy reading. Bye.